Hello, and welcome to the setup and configuration for the AT-OME-CS31-SA, AT-OME-CS31-SA-C, and the AT-OME-CS31-SA-HDBT. The primary differences between the three units are that input 1 on the AT-OME-CS31-SA-HDBT is an HDBaseT, and on the AT-OME-CS31-SA-C, input 1 is a USB-C input. We will combine the video as there are very few differences in setting up the units. We will need to access the web server for the CS31 out of the box. The unit will be set to DHCP, so it is encouraged that you connect to a network which gives out IP addresses. The first page that will come up when you launch the web browser for the CS31 is the login page. The default password is Atlona with a capital A. If this is the first time you log in, you will need to set a new password. Make sure to save this password. To reset the IP mode or login credentials, you can press and hold the input button on the front of the unit for 10 seconds. If you need to reset the entire device back to factory settings, press and hold for 30 seconds. All of the status lights will flash and stop when it's fully reset. This interface should be familiar with Atlona users. The main system page will give you information such as model name, serial number, and firmware. But it also tells you the active input and video signal information. Across the top, you'll see the network settings are also under the System tab. Here you can change the IP mode between DHCP and static, as well as modify the telnet port and hostname for the device. On the video page, you can enable and disable the ability to automatically switch the inputs, and if there's no signal, what the fallback input would be. You can also manually switch between the inputs if you're connected to an OME-CS31-SA-HDBT. You can see that input 1 has an HDBaseT input. The OME-CS31-SA-C has a USB-C input. You can also change the inputs manually on the front of the unit. The fourth selection for the input button selects the info page, which shows the IP address, MAC hostname, and firmware. The HDMI output, plus 5 volts, forces the pin on the HDMI output to be high or always on when this is enabled. Many VTC codecs need to see a change in this pin in order to change modes. If faster switching times are desired, then you should move this to enabled. It is set to disabled by default, because this allows the attached display to go to sleep if there's no signal present. Attempting to route HDCP protected content to a non-compliant display can result in no image flickering or no picture. Some devices are not capable of transmitting non-HDCP content, and the most common example of this is the Mac computer. Finally, this bottom section gives you information on the inputs for video and audio. Before a source can send audio and video to a display, the source reads the EDID stored in the display. The OME-CS31 series can use either the EDID that is from the display or the built-in EDID preset. If you have an issue, you can save to memory the EDID from the display directly. If you have several rooms using the same display and the OME-CS31 switcher, you can download the EDID for use in other locations. The first audio page allows you to set up your local audio connections. You can control the mixer inputs that include 1 balanced, 2 unbalanced inputs, the HDMI output, and the USB host input. You can set the volume as well as mute and unmute each audio independently. Ducking allows levels to be reduced when balanced source audio, such as a wireless microphone, is detected. Think of an auditorium playing background music, and the principal needs to get the crowd's attention to take their seats. With ducking enabled, you can change certain settings. Attack is the time it takes the secondary audio, such as the microphone, to take priority over the primary background music. Release is how long it takes for the music to return to its original levels. Program decrease is the amount that you want to lower the program audio between the attack and release times. Ducking trigger establishes the level where the balanced input will take priority over the program audio. Mixer output allows for control of the balance and amplified output levels. These can be linked together or separately controlled. Finally, the amplifier mode allows you to change the amplifier from stereo to mono. USB audio allows the mixer inputs to be independently set or muted. Then you can adjust or mute the output to the USB device like a computer hosting a lecture capture or remote students. PA-Sense mutes the program audio when an announcement is detected. The release time value is how long before that program audio returns to normal levels after the announcement is finished. Trigger mode selection allows for the trigger to be normally open or normally closed. The CS31 products provide two different USB modes, follow video and manual. Each mode provides a different method of controlling USB depending on how the system is connected. Follow video is the default mode. The AT-OME-CS31-SA has 3 HDMI inputs and 2 USB hosts, so you can choose which USB host will be used based on the HDMI. The AT-OME-CS31-SA-HDBT only has one USB host, so you cannot change it except on the HDBaseT. The AT-OME-CS31-SA also has only one USB host, so it can only be changed on the USB-C. The manual USB allows you to set the host to be either USB 1 or USB 2 if you're connected to the AT-OME-CS31-SA. If you're connected to the AT-OME-CS31-SA-HDBT, you can choose between the HDBaseT USB and the local host. For the AT-OME-CS31-SA-C, you can choose between the USB-C port and the local host port. Finally, we have the USB-V bus. This allows the USB hub port to toggle on and off based on the presence of a USB host. Always high allows the USB power to be always on. So as an example, if you have an AT-Cap SP100 speakerphone connected, you can set this to always high, and it will continually charge the speakerphone even if there is no USB host present. Under Control, we can select the LAN connection, which can be SSH or Telnet. This is also where you can change the administrator password. The RS-232 section allows you to set the attributes for the first, which is the display, and the second, which is the switcher itself as console. The trigger I/O can be enabled to turn on or off the display based on a wired occupancy sensor. The CS31 also integrates directly with our AT-OCS900N network occupancy sensor. Finally, on the Control tab is the Display Control. You can turn the display on or off and adjust the power and audio. The CS31 can control the display with CEC, TCP/IP, or RS-232. The last tab along the left is the Maintenance tab. The system allows you to enable Standby, which is a low-power mode. It allows for any video input to be turned off, and when an on command is sent, it is usually much faster time to go to fully powered. To prevent accidental pressing of the input button, the front panel can be locked. This may be desired if the OME-CS31 is installed in a rack. The blink feature is useful for identifying OME-CS31s in a rack, especially if multiple units are installed. When the feature is enabled, all LED indicators on the front panel will flash continuously until the feature is disabled. The factory default button will take the unit back to factory default settings, including the network settings back to DHCP. Once the unit is finished, it will go back to the login page, and you will need to use the Atlona password and then change the password to something you will remember. Reboot does a soft reboot, and the network and other settings are preserved. API test is where you can check the API commands and see what is coming back from the unit for control from third-party control systems. The export button on the login page is used by tech support if you're having issues with your unit. Finally, the configuration tab allows you to import an existing file or export the one you just created to use in multiple rooms. For more information on the AT-OME-CS31 products, check them out at atlona.com.